you guys so much for joining us for another episode of Conversations with a Few Good Men. And I am here with two amazing guys, as you guys will understand and find out more and more for yourselves as you listen to this recording. I hope you guys did tune in last Saturday. If you did not, go check out that video from last Saturday, Conversation with a Few Good Men, Season 2, Episode 1. And anyway, we're going to get into the show. I thank you guys so much for joining me. I have here Rudy and Zachariah. Would you guys mind introducing yourselves to our listeners?
Yeah, so my name is Rudy Pena. I'm part of the Chicago ministry, or the singles ministry in the Chicago Church of Christ. I currently work in the ministry over here, helping out the singles, tending to them, taking care of them. I'm a filmmaker and a musician and a screenwriter. So that's me in a nutshell.
In a nutshell, okay.
Awesome. My name is Zachariah Zanders. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, 23 years old. I run ads online for a living. I love training jiu-jitsu. And yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Okay, I just want to be clear. What'd you say you do a lot for a living?
Me?
Did you say you run ads?
Yeah, ads online. Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's wonderful. Okay, and so anyway, so guys, thank you so much for joining this conversation. I'm very excited. And before we get into it, I'm just going to go straight to the question. I know a lot of people want to know, are you guys single?
I am single, yes.
Very much so.
Okay.
Yes.
Is that
both
a solid
of us,
yes?
I think, say yes.
Rudy?
Solid yes.
That's a solid yes. Okay.
Very much so.
And then also the question I like to ask here, you don't have to answer, you can tell me to mind my business, but do you guys believe in celibacy?
I do, yes.
Yes, I very much do.
Okay, got it. Okay. All right, so guys, so for our conversation today, one of the things we're going to talk about is building relationships with people, you guys' case with women who have a past that's not so great. There's a common conversation going on in today's world about healing, and about healing and about overcoming our past. Counseling has become so much more popular and common, and I know I've heard guys say things like, well, she's got baggage, and women do it too. This is not bias. It's just that I'm talking to men. Say things like, well, she's got baggage and I can't deal with that, and all these kind of things. What is you guys' honest thoughts about being in a relationship with someone? If you met someone who you thought was an amazing person, amazing enough for you to ask them out, to be out with them, how would it affect your decision to continue a relationship with them? And you can generalize it if you want to. You don't have to make it personal. But what do you think about, a man moving forward in a relationship with a woman with who has a past, who has those things that she's working past, whether it's from her ex-relationships, childhood, different things?
So I can go first if you want me to. I know for me, as I get older, and you start dating people who are in your age range, it's less and less common to not date somebody without a past.
Right.
Pretty much anybody that you're gonna date is gonna have somewhat of the past. Yeah. So I think for me, I've never minded anybody having issues or having things in the past. It's like, how are you dealing with them in the present? Like, are you somebody who's working through those? Are you bettering yourself to move past that? Because I don't care where you've been, but like, where are you at? If your mindset is still in the past and you're still reliving all that, then you're not here for me to date you now. You're stuck back there. I can't deal with that. But if you're somebody who you're in the present and you have issues, maybe you have baggage, maybe there's, certain triggers that are coming up and so forth. That's life. That's how it is. If I'm in love with you, if I'm devoted to you, we're going to move through that together going forward. But again, if you're stuck back there and I'm here, you know, it's just not going to work out.
Got it. Got it. Got it. So
Yeah,
it's
and
all
I agree
about
with
where they are in healing for you.
Yeah,
Got
yeah.
it. Okay. And what were your thoughts, Zachariah?
Yeah, very similar to Rudy, you know, in that for me, I would love to know
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, guys. Let's pause for just a second.
Yeah, like I agree very similarly to Rudy in that for me, it would be to whatever degree is appropriate for whatever stage we're at. You know, I would love to know about your past, your history. I'd love to share mine because it would help me understand where you're coming from. If you have triggers, it will help me understand, okay, why those are there. It'll help me, it'll help give me a lot more understanding, and it'll be a lot easier to be graceful, merciful, and patient as we do work through those things, and I do what I can to help you navigate through those different things. So to me, like baggage in the past, like that, I mean, whatever. We all need to work through stuff, and sometimes it just takes time for you to move past something, depending on whatever it is in your history, your life, your childhood, all those things. So to me, it's not an issue. Speaking generally, now it depends on what it is. You know, like I don't know if it was something crazy like you had a history of killing all your exes. Okay, I don't, you know, something ridiculous. Obviously, that's way out there, you know. But
you would only be dating them on
flag,
Love After Lockup.
But speaking generally with no specific context, yeah, I mean, to me, that's not an issue. As long as you're willing to be faithful to me, you know, like that's my main thing, you know.
Okay, so let me make sure I'm capturing this right. Let me make sure I'm hearing you right. So it sounds like you're saying you can handle a person having issues, even if they are issues they're currently working on, as long as they are aware enough to inform you as to what those issues are, about what those issues are, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
If they're just real with me.
So I'll throw out an example. I love your answer, by the way. I love both you guys' answers, by the way. Very honest. I think what both of you said is how a lot of us can feel. You know what I mean? The worst thing is being in a situation, I think, with someone who's just simply not aware. That is such a struggle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Self-awareness, yeah.
So I think so when I think about what you're saying, Zachariah, a question that comes to mind is, what if a woman, for example, has an issue with her past, being cheated on, being hurt by men, and she has a strong struggle with trusting? Because I know, I know that's very hard for men. Even if they know the woman is not because of them, it's very hard for them to cultivate, to be in a relationship with a woman when she just has broken trust.
Yeah, it's funny you asked me that question because that is I don't have in general a lot of just fears about stuff. I'm just kind of like, either it is what it is or let's see what happens. You know, it's how I am for the most part. But when it comes to relationships, the only fear I have is, you know, cheating, because I've seen that directly in my immediate family multiple times, and I've seen it in marriages. And for me, I'm just like, that is a big no, you know. And so if she has fear of that, in a way, I'm like, okay, well, hopefully that puts you in a place of not wanting to cheat, not wanting to cheat,
So you guys
which would be helpful.
Yeah.
But and so like I think, and even if her knowing that about not my direct past, but just people around me, like in my immediate family's past, knowing that that's something I hate, even if then she still had an issue trusting me, I would just be patient as long as she would let me. Obviously to a reasonable point, right? But I'll just say, hey, you know, I'm here. I'm willing to be patient. I'm not gonna hurt you. I have no. I'm trying to get with you, so I'm not thinking about anybody else. If I was thinking about somebody else, I wouldn't be trying to get with you, you know. And so yeah, I mean, to me, that's something. Now, if it's like 5 years, I don't even know if I would have waited that long, you know, unless I really, really, really was like, yes, you are the one. But so to a reasonable degree, I would be patient if I really thought a relationship together would be worth it, you know.
So you be patient, meaning waiting for her to get to a certain place, or you be patient just with her struggle and her growing in her trust, and you feel like you could step up and like handle it, like, look, I can handle this. I can help her, you know, trust me and feel more safe and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think in both. Now, obviously, there's a point at which it's like, okay, maybe it's just time to move on, right? That point comes, whatever that point would be. And when that point comes, I would have no issue just accepting the fact that this needs that, you know, just, hey, you know, time is expired, right? But in the moment, yeah, I wouldn't mind being patient in both ways, helping her through it and just in time.
Got
If
it.
I was that set on her, you know.
Got it. Got it. Okay. Thank you for your response to that. So, Rudy, what would be how would you handle a situation like that?
Trust
Meaning the
issues.
trust thing.
Yeah. So I know for me, I have dated people in my past that have had trust issues. So there's two kind of areas of thought on that. The one area, for somebody, I've been a Christian for 17 years. So so for me, I'm somebody that anytime I date somebody, they also have to be a Christian. That's just kind of my boundary. So I'm going to be dating somebody who actually will not need to trust me as much as they're going to need to trust God. And it's going to get to this point to where, like, okay, you can only trust me so much. I'm a human. I'm fallible. You have to trust God and put more faith in him over me. And if I'm doing the same thing, if I'm trusting God more than you, then we're both trusting in this thing that is 110% reliable and cannot lie to us. That's the first part. The second part of that is I'm actually a very, very, very loyal person, sometimes even to a fault. I have had women who've cheated on me before, but I've also been
Not
with,
since you've been a Christian. Since you've been a Christian?
Not since I've been a Christian.
Okay.
This is like pre-Christian days. Pre-Christian days. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm somebody who's also been with women who, were previously married. Some women have had children before. So with that comes a wealth of emotions as well as a wealth of hurt, and a lot of triggers. So I think for me, I'm very patient as well.
Mm-hmm.
If you are sold out for this relationship, but you just have some bumps you got to get through, let's work through it. Let's work through the bumps. Whenever those bumps come along, let's talk about them. Let's communicate. Let's work through that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're somebody who is not willing to work through that type of stuff, I'm not going to marry somebody who does not trust me in that general sense. Again, you gotta trust God a little bit more than me, but I have to be able to be trusted at least somewhat to some general sense, or I can't marry you. And if we're not leading towards marriage, then what's the point of us dating?
Wow.
So for me,
serious.
yeah. And mind you, I'll go out on like dates now and I'll talk to, women and everything. I'm not like, with like a rope trying to wrestle me a woman and, date, marry the first woman I see, but I'm also very selective. My standard as a Christian male is a little bit different than it was before. So I'm going to look for somebody who shares those same values, but also shares the same conviction of growing as a human being, because again, there's some point where you just have to grow past a lot of this stuff. That doesn't mean that those triggers don't still happen. They're going to happen. They still happen for me in a lot of ways. But it's like, what do you do when those do happen? Are you working to remedy those and fix those? Or are you carrying that baggage along on, our journey as well?
Okay, got it. And you guys are in two very different places with this. And I understand both of them. I think the woman in me, so it's funny because I feel like the past me is like, so like, oh, for the way Zachariah is responding, because I've been in relationships where I had to work through some trust issues, and I don't mind saying it. I'm just kind of person, like, I got one life, one God to please. You know what I'm saying? And whoever my husband is, he's gonna choose me and he's gonna have to trust me too. So anyway, but the thing I'm saying is, I've had those things to work through. And at the time that I was in those relationships, it got really sticky. I didn't realize how much of the problem was mine. The person's behavior was very interesting. I'm just gonna say that. So you had these two things, that were just like up against each other. Every time he felt like I didn't trust, he would resist and say, "You're being insecure." And I would say, "No, you're not being considerate." And he would say, and it just became this tug of war. And only thing I can deal with once it was all over is, look, I just want to make sure I'm 100. So it made me have to decide, I want to check myself into some counseling. I want to deal with things. And when the people hear counseling, they think, oh, you're so, you're just like the weakest person in the world. They think counseling is so weak, and that's the strangest thing to think, because to me, it's like you have you know, a car that you have taken in and gotten all the parts checked and get everything working properly versus somebody who refuses to take their car in because they think, oh, that's what wimps do. Well, your car is going to break down eventually. You see what I'm saying? Everybody needs a tune up here and there. You know what I mean? And it's just like a long trip. I think after every breakup, a person should go to counseling. Even if you don't pay for it, even if it's not extensive, I think you should get still and examine what it is that caused you to get into that relationship, that caused the things that happened while you were in it to happen, and to help you heal once it's over. So that we constantly talk about this thing called baggage, and I think that is the prevention to baggage. If after we got out of traumatic experiences and breakups, we take the time, we deal with ourselves, and then move forward. That's just my thought.
Yeah, if I can kind of chime in there, I totally agree with what you're saying. I think a lot of times, like whenever it comes to baggage, we like our emotions are like a muscle, you know, and like any muscle, you have to work it out for it to be stronger, you know. And I think that's a lot of times we don't really understand that because we see it as, oh, this hurts. Yeah, well, if you're trying to run a triathlon, you're going to hurt a little bit when you're working out. Right. You know, something like marriage or even a relationship, that's a race that you're going to have to work at and you're going to have to run. You know, that's not some easy thing you can just pick up and do. No, you got to work at that, you know, and you got to work that muscle. I remember after getting out of a relationship, this is years ago, I was on a date with somebody and I actually had a panic attack because there was just certain things that happened by not her fault. The person I was on the date with, not her fault at all, but I was getting a lot of triggers and I was feeling a little bit disrespected in a very specific sort of way. And for me, like I had to just get out. I called one of my friends from church who I had gone through counseling with, like as a group. And we kind of just went through a few steps and, you know, just had to think about it and everything. But those triggers are very real. And if you don't deal with it and work with that muscle and flex it at that time, next time it happens, you're going to be just as weak as you were the first time when you needed to jump that particular hurdle.
I agree. Why even, you know, and it's like, why let pride force you into denial, you know, instead of just going to just taking care of yourself? And I'm so grateful for the work that I've done because it's like it literally has changed my life in so many ways and is beginning to change my life more and more and more. You know, as these pieces fall into place, one of the things I had to realize was that it was something to do with my childhood that was underlying that made me feel like I wasn't lovable. So, and through the counseling, it helped me see if you don't believe you're lovable, you won't be able to accept all the love and all the elements of love that someone's bringing to the table to you. You have this message playing in the back of your head. And now I'm over it. So my husband better love me. He better love me good too.
Amen.
I'm looking forward to some love. But anyway, you know, I love what you shared, Rudy. And I feel like you're coming from a different point in life, a different set of experiences that have sort of, you know, created your perspective on it. And you kind of expect by this, like you said, this time in your life, this age in your life for people to kind of own their stuff. And it's not as, you know, whereas with Zechariah, what I love about your heart, and I'm pretty sure anybody listening will want to hear me come back to this, hopefully. You know, what I love about your heart is that you are so many women's, you know, dream, so many women's hero, in the sense that the patience, even the Bible says love is patient. You know what I'm saying? Right. And the heart that you have to be willing to say, look, okay, I know you got stuff that you got to work on. You know what I mean? I know you have these things. I just need to understand them so I can kind of know how to work with you, you know, and everything. And I feel like that's really great as long as there's a balance on your part, that you know your own boundaries. You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to coach you or anything. I'm just saying, you know, that you know your own boundaries so you don't get, you know, in a situation where you're overwhelmed, you're overly loving somebody who really doesn't have the capacity to love you back the way that, you know what I mean? They're not ready for it. And it happens, you know? Yeah. It happens. So anyway, but I think that's a great response. So anyway, moving on, guys. I'm going to move on to what's next in this next part of this conversation, guys. I'm going to have you guys watch a video, and I want your honest, authentic, raw, 100% feedback to this video. If you want to look at it and say, this is crazy, why are we even watching it? That's okay too. But if you want to, you know, whatever you guys say. Okay, so hold for just a second. Hey guys, so what are your thoughts? What is your honest reaction to that video?
Yeah, I think from what I could see, I'm like, I'm a little lost at the guy. I'm like, unless I missed something in the beginning, I was like, who? Like, I don't know. I think in my mind, I'm like, okay, like, number one, I would have made sure my wife ate. That's number one, definitely hands down for sure. I would have told the guys, hey, slow down, like she still needs to eat at the very least, or giving her my food, you know, whatever. Even for the simple fact of I'm not trying to have any drama after they leave, you know, that's number one. Number two, I don't think I would have had her just getting up and down like that. I think at some point I would have gotten up, gotten stuff, or be like, hey, what, or maybe just to prevent the up and down, be a little bit more thoughtful. Hey, anybody else want anything else before we go and get it, that we can bring it all at once, especially if they're my friends, kind of like whatever. And so I don't know, but I think that guy's a little bit just, I don't know what to think about him. I'm like, dude, you need to figure some things out, you know. So
right. Wow.
Yeah.
You heard that, ladies. He would have gotten up and helped. Keep it in mind. Keep that on your notepad. Okay. So anyway, what was your response to the video, Rudy?
So yeah, so I have kind of like three schools of thought on that video. First off, I mean the obvious kind of heart of the video is this guy's, you know, like a narcissistic kind of pig.
America's you know? Favorite word.
Yeah. It's one of those things like, I mean, you can just rattle it off. Inconsiderate, you know, rude, like all these types of things. Like that's obvious. The over the top you know, actions of him are absolutely completely obvious. At least I hope that would be obvious. I can't think of any man who would see that and be like, oh, he's doing, everything's fine. So there's that. The second part, I think, even as like, if I was like one of the friends, there would be a point to where I'd be like, hey man, yo, let's just go ahead and wait for your wife. Or hey, no, she's been getting up doing everything. Or at least let me clean this plate. You know, and hey, you think you should be talking to her that way? What's, you know, there's like a sense of accountability that men need to have with each other, especially in a situation like that. And I didn't see that implemented by the other guys. The other guys were just as much of a, you know, I don't know how else to, like a dish rag as he was, you know, like just not really doing anything.
Dish rag.
And the third part of that is, I'm just gonna say it. I'm Latin, all right. And if that was like a Latin woman in my family, you know, about the second time getting up, like, wait a minute.
Not a true representation.
There's no bread. I made this bread, and you didn't even save the bread for me, like, you know. So there's a point to where I think even the woman, you know, you can stand up for yourself in that type of situation without making a spectacle of the evening. You know, hey, can you come here, take a look at something for me in the kitchen, and then talk to him, be like, look, the way you're ordering me around, this isn't going to fly in front of company. Don't speak to me that way.
I love it.
It's a respect kind of thing. So yeah, like the obvious thing that the video is trying to get to is like, hey, this guy's being rude. Don't be like this. But again, in the same situation, I find issues with the men who are sitting around allowing that to happen, and the woman herself. I absolutely hate seeing a woman compromise and put in that type of position. I've seen it before in real life, and it angers me. So for her, you know, you can serve. Amen. I grew up in a household where my mother was serving all the time, but she told me, she's like, when you get older, don't sit on the couch like your dad. You serve your wife, you cook for your wife, you clean her dishes, you do this stuff as well, you know? So there comes a sense to where your personal responsibility and your level of respect that you require from your partner has to kick in, or else this stuff is just going to keep growing and growing up to domestic violence even, you know? So
wow.
I hope that makes sense. I don't want to overanalyze a little 5-minute video.
Yeah, he went, yeah. I mean, who knows, you know?
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, it was. Both of you guys' responses were awesome. That's why you're on Conversations with a Few Good Men. See? It makes perfect sense. Now in this part of our conversation, guys, we are going to put one of you guys' goodness on trial. And what that means is one of you guys is going to pick a number, and whoever picks the number that is closest to the number I pick, we're going to put your goodness on trial. I have some questions for you, and these questions were chosen by experts as questions that a woman should ask on her first date with a man. So Rudy, you want to go first? You want to pick a number?
Number 7.
Okay, and what's your number, Zachariah?
In this, is there a range, like pick it between 1 and 10, or is it just any
pick a
number?
I mean 1 and 10. Yes, 1 and 10. Don't go too far.
Oh, okay. 5.
Wow, okay. So in that case, it's gonna be Zachariah. As you can see here, I've already picked the number 4. I don't know if you guys can see or not. But so Zachariah, your goodness is on trial this evening. Okay.
All right.
And we're gonna jump right into it. So the first question that I have for you is describe your ideal relationship.
Ideal relationship is number 1, and like you love God more than me. Like you would give me up to serve him. That's number 1. Number 2, someone who's just real. They're straight up, you know, like they trust me enough and they're comfortable enough to be real and honest, because stuff in that case, things don't build up, things don't, you know, callicize and explode at some point. So, and number 3, I can just have fun with you, like, and I can live the normal, like everyday boring life stuff with you and still enjoy it.
That's so sweet.
Because then otherwise, well, dang, you just be staring at the person like, you know, so yeah.
Got it. Okay. And the next question is, does someone think they're in a relationship with you right now?
I hope not, because I'm definitely not trying to lead anybody on.
These are questions. These are the questions that women should ask on a first date, right? This is what the experts say. Okay? You never know. Things happen. Okay, coffee or tea?
Tea. Coffee is disgusting.
Oh, wow. See, this is good stuff to know, especially for the coffee addicts. Now you know you got to make him some tea. So, and okay, have you ever dated someone with a disability?
I have not.
Okay, and
is that a physical disability? Is that what, or just
physical,
any sense?
Physical.
Mental. Okay.
Okay.
As far as I'm aware, no.
Okay, and do you feel like you ever could date someone, like just say with a physical disability?
I mean, obviously it comes down to like, what is that? But I mean, yeah, I would be open to it.
Okay. All right. And then what brings you joy? That's our final question.
To be real, God, and then food. Good food.
God and food. Oh, that's so cool. So anybody listening who is in Zachariah's dating pool. I don't know what to call it, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. Anyway, he have to like you first. That's the point. But the point is, you know, these are great answers to these questions. And also, his last answer was what brings him joy was God and food. So if you don't have God, you can't cook. You don't have a chance. But anyway, thank you guys so much for joining me for this conversation with A Few Good Men. Guys, I'm so grateful for you joining me in this conversation. I thank you for taking the time. I know today's topics were a little bit more serious, but there was something I definitely want to touch on over here on Sip Station and on Conversations with A Few Good Men, and who better than you guys to have that conversation with me. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have not taken the time to subscribe to the channel, please do so now. And if you have not shared this video or you don't like this video, when it's done, make sure you share this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good evening. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.